Mom died at the dawn of a global pandemic. We buried her with a family-only graveside service after driving her through the streets of Jacksonville lined with friends and neighbors holding signs and balloons to express their love and grief. She didn't get a memorial service in a packed church. Because of the strangeness of this unprecedented time, our grieving has been elongated. For me, the past 19 months have been punctuated by acute moments of sadness as I feel her loss in the scattered moments of our life. When Mom died, I sat down to start writing a eulogy for her. I never got to finish it or share it with anyone. I share it with you now on what would have been her 69th birthday. Nancy got it right. Nancy got it right when she chose her mate, Keith. She was so right, in fact, that her father-in-law told his son at their wedding that they better get along because he was going to choose her side. Thankfully, Elmer never had to choose. Nancy got it right. Mom's two fields of accounting and IT were two professions that require you to get it right. The credits have to match the debits, and the client has to talk to the server. Mom loved these detailed and precise fields that drew on her strength of getting it right. When DAR, First Presbyterian Church, or the Monday Conversation Club elected Nancy treasurer, they knew that their books were going to be right every month. Mom did these jobs in fields dominated by men. She was deep into her accounting degree when she had to burn the midnight oil to finish up a term paper. She proudly took the culmination of her semester to show her grandmother, who was duly impressed. "Oh, honey, you typed that all by yourself." Mom was no man's secretary. Nancy was a feminist who raised a couple of feminist boys who married equally feminist wives. When you grow up with your mom singing you to sleep with Annie Oakley, "Anything you can do, I can do better," it has an impact on you. Her granddaughters are now growing up in a family where the notion that some occupations might be off limits for women sounds ridiculous to them. Their grandma already shattered the glass ceiling for them. Nancy got it right. Nancy raised two academically successful boys. In the 9th grade, as Mom and I worked out what it would take to be number one in the class of 1998, her spreadsheet showed that a careless decision in the 6th grade to not take junior high Spanish meant that being valedictorian was unobtainable. While we settled for number 3, she got it right with her second son, who topped the class of 2001. Nancy skillfully held her own siblings together through their shared joy and loss. Linda, Steve, and Bob grew closer each time they faced hardship because Mom sat everyone down to work it out, even if that meant getting to Vegas for a weekend. Nancy got it right. She frequently gathered those dispersed siblings, their nieces, nephews, and their growing families into epic, utter chaos getaways that anchored the family's connection to each other. Nancy got it right. When Nancy's mother-in-law, my grandma Frida, died, Nancy was determined to carry on her holiday traditions. For another 20 years, we had the same Christmas Eve meal that Frida cooked. Mom cooked in the same way she prepared a tax return. She meticulously gathered the recipes and instructions into a thick 3-ring binder so that each dish was always done just right. The centerpiece of this meal was an oyster stew that she hated, but still cooked just right every time. The Christmas trifle recipe calls for half-inch slices of pound cake. As my approximate cutting wife Jen found out that when you cooked with Nancy, you needed to get it exactly right, even if it meant using a ruler. Nancy always got it right. Mom's holiday tables were exquisite. They masterfully blended the nicest of our dishware with the most sentimental, albeit awkward handmade napkin holders. They always had the right number of identical place settings, which was hard to pull off because of her open table. Our holiday gatherings always had guests. She expanded her table to include the bachelor neighbor, an eccentric cousin, a student from Japan, an in-law, an outlaw, or anyone else who Mom observed might not have the right place for the holiday. Nancy got it right. When her first grandchild was born, Nancy knew that we needed time and space before Hope would be ready to meet her grandma. But she insisted on being nearby when she was born. Keith drove her to Chicago and they sat in the hospital parking lot waiting for the phone to ring to let them know that Hope was here. And then waiting several more hours until she was invited into the hospital room. She arrived in the maternity ward at just the right moment with flowers for an exhausted new mama. Nancy got it right. When cancer came to her brother-in-law Ken, Mom became his advocate and care coordinator. She found him a course of treatment that gave him a precious extra 2 years. She pushed through countless obstacles, including a sometimes reluctant patient, to get Ken the right care. Nancy got it right. When faced with the demon of cancer herself, Mom said from the beginning that she would fight. And fight she did. She carried a suitcase of records to doctors in Chicago, St. Louis, Indianapolis, Dallas, seeking trials and therapies to buy her more time. She found the best trials and the best care that she could. She won herself enough time to welcome a third grandchild and to set up her husband for the next chapter of his life. Nancy got it right. Jesus blessed people like Mom in the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness' sake. He said, for they will be filled. Late in her illness, Mom gave us a big, important speech about how there were going to be no big, important speeches. She would leave us no parting advice, no final words. She had said everything she intended to say and lived without regret. Nancy had gotten it right, and as promised, she was filled.